Organizational Services Performance and Monitoring Committee. If we can have a roll call, that would be wonderful.
Good morning. Emily Pachetti, South Sick. Lauren Welch,
Present.
Anastasia Elder, Mayor Gallo,
Here.
Mayor Kumar, Stephen Love,
Yes.
Reverend Lucas, Deidre McPherson,
Here.
Jeffrey Sleesman,
Here.
Mayor Weiss.
Here.
Thank you. I believe we have most of the committee members present. We'll now do the approval of the minutes for March 18th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Sleesman.
Second, Gallo.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those minutes have been approved. We do have two presentations today for RFP procurements. The first presentation is going to be a competitive negotiated procurement to provide the authority with revenue processing and collection services for 3 years with 2 one-year options. Today we have presenters Alan Pauley and Rosalind Robinson. You now have the floor. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Committee Chair Welch and all the members of the committee. My name is Alan Pauley. I am Director of Revenue Collection. Excuse me. I am here today with Rosalind Robinson to present our recommendation for the Revenue Collection and Processing Services contract. Just to give you a project overview, there's 3 parts to our contract. The largest part would be to pick up our bins, process and deposit currency and coins received from fare boxes. The money collected at each facility from the fare boxes is emptied from the fare boxes each night and placed into the revenue bins by the revenue department staff. The second part would be to pick up and deposit cash revenues from ticket vending machines, known as TVMs, and customer service kiosks, also called CSKs. That money is collected by revenue staff accompanied by transit police, where they go station to station on the health line and the red lines. They remove the currency and coin, take it back to the revenue facility where it is processed, and we prepare a deposit that Brinks will pick up. Just to give you an idea in case nobody's ever seen it, on the left there's a picture of a fare box. On the right is a picture of a TVM. To the right side of the TVM is a CSK, but you can't really see it in the picture. The third portion of the contract would be to pick up and deposit the cash revenues collected from fare card sales at the customer service center. The deposit is prepared by customer service center staff and picks it up once a week. So our bin pickup is daily, Monday through Friday. They have a set route, a set schedule of what locations to pick up. They are required to use an armored vehicle with a lift gate and the ability to accommodate up to 2,000 pounds on that lift gate, and I'm going to speak more on that in a moment. They do use armed personnel. They transport our bins to a high-security facility, and they guarantee same-day deposit of those revenues. So this is the armored vehicle with the lift gate, and the reason I want to expand on that is in previous proposal processes, we have been told by prospective bidders that this vehicle is not normally part of an armored transport fleet because of the lift. So they have to have a truck, modify the truck, which is a huge expense so that they can pick up our bins. In addition to that truck, Brinks has also built a rack system so they can roll the bins right off the truck onto the track. We empty the coin and the bills. They put the bins back onto the truck where they are stored. That truck is dedicated to our service. So the complaint from other bidders is to have a truck dedicated to the service and or store the bins is not an expense that they're willing to take. So our bank deposits from the pickups from revenue and customer service are guaranteed for the next day deposit, not unlike the bins that have same day deposit. GCRTA has a verification process where we compare our daily collection data from the fare boxes to the bank deposits. We also perform bin audits to pre-count the bins to verify the accuracy of the data collection system and the reporting accuracy of Brinks. And now I'm going to turn it over to Rosalind.
Good morning, I'm Rosalind Robinson, Contract Administrator for this project, and I will give you a procurement overview. The RFP was issued on January 12th, 2025. Proposals were solicited for a 3-year contract with 2 one-year options. It was accessed on the RTA website by 4 interested parties, and 1 company proposed. The evaluation panel consisted of team members from Revenue, Fleet Management, Administration and External Affairs, and Procurement. The recommended company is Brinks Incorporated. They are located here in Cleveland, Ohio. There was a DBE goal of 0%, and that was due to lack of certified DBE firms. Brinks has been in business since 1895, and they are the largest provider of armored truck services in the United States. They have successfully performed on this current and previous contracts for RTA since 1995. They are a worldwide organization, again, with a local branch here, and they have experienced and qualified staff. Some of their current clients are Ohio Turnpike, Cuyahoga County, and Goodwill of Columbus. Staff recommends award of a 3-year contract to Brinks Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $983,075, with 2 one-year options in an amount not to exceed $345,860 for option year 1, and in an amount not to exceed $354,506 for option year 2, for a total contract amount not to exceed $1,683,441 for the 5-year period. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much for that presentation. Any questions from the committee?
I was going to ask the reason we only had 1 bidder, but it sounded like it might be the liftgate. Is that
The project scope, yeah, outside of their scope.
And we had in the RFP that they had to have that liftgate, or it was left open on collection method, and that the return answers from bidders, including Brinks, were you need this to collect.
With the liftgate.
The scope specified that they had to have a vehicle capable of collecting the bins
Okay.
without RTA assistance. So the only other way to pick up the bins is using a forklift. And we don't want to use RTA forklifts or staff to be doing that.
Thanks.
Any additional questions? Thank you so much. I'll motion to move this forward. Do I have a second?
Second, Sleesman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries. We next have an RFP procurement presentation of a negotiated procurement for authority-wide automatic pedestrian door maintenance and repairs for 3 years with 2 one-year options. We have Jason Rosenlieb, please correct me if I'm saying that incorrectly, please, and Scott Lawson, which we have presenting for the first time.
Good morning,
morning.
Trustee Welch, committee members, and members of the board. My name is Jason Rosenlieb. I'm the manager of rail facilities and janitorial. I, along with Scott Lawson, the contract administrator, will be presenting on automatic pedestrian doors, APDs, maintenance and repairs. Project scope. So the scope of services is preventative maintenance, repair of all APD components, emergency services and response, replacement of broken OEM manufactured parts, and maintaining compliance with ADA and safety regulations. The justification, the project aims to secure a qualified vendor to perform ongoing maintenance and on-demand repair services for all automatic pedestrian doors, APDs, across the authority. The objective is to ensure consistent, safe, and efficient operation of APDs while minimizing downtime and extending our equipment lifespan. This will enhance accessibility to our customer experience, especially for individuals with mobility challenges. Our APD examples, this is at Tower City on your left, is a bifold door, so it's multiple panels that open, and on the right is just 2 double opening doors. I'll turn it over to Scott.
Good morning. My name is Scott Lawson. I am the contract administrator too for this procurement. The RFP was issued on December 8th of 2024, accessible on the GCRTA website by 11 interested parties. The proposal for this was due on January 8th of 2025. A 0% DBA goal was assigned for this procurement. The evaluation panel members include Central Facilities, Service Management, Administration, External Affairs, Marketing, Safety, Rural Facilities, and Procurement. The evaluation criteria included technical competence, maintenance and support, cost, experience, and references. The firm's experience, this business has been in business for over 30 years. They offer 24/7 emergency service. They also have a certification for their technicians for the American Association of Automatic Door Manufacturers, known as AAADM. They completed the 2017 Tower City Door Replacement Project, which included 11 automatic sliding doors with 4 swing doors at the platform station. Their current clients include the GCRTA, Lewis Stokes Cleveland VA Medical Center, Mercy Health Systems, Fresenius Medical Care, Akron Summit Community Public Libraries, Youngstown State University, Greater Columbus Convention Center, Discount Drug Mart, Giant Eagle, Hilton, Aldi, Menards, and Dollar General. The estimated cost for each year, those range from $85,000 all the way up to a contract year of $122,000 for maintenance and inspections. The staff recommends the award of automatic preventable door maintenance and repair services to Trinity Door Systems Incorporated in a negotiated amount not to exceed $279,631.38 for the 3-year base period, with 2 one-year options in amounts not to exceed $109,950.56 and $122,800.31 respectively, for a total contract amount not to exceed $512,382.25 for a 5-year period. Are there any questions?
Thank you for that presentation. Fantastic work. Any questions?
It certainly doesn't look as though it's a problem here and that this was well below the estimate, but I'll just ask, since we only did get one bid, if we had any idea as to why there was only one bidder.
I think it was the timing, so we put the bid out on the 8th of December. The information we received from a lot of bidders is that they were busy with the end of the year closing, or they received the information too late. So I tried to submit some for information.
Great, yeah, thanks. The one bid we got looked to be really good, so thanks for that.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Reverend Lucas, did you have a question? Oh, okay. All right. Well, I will motion to move this forward. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries. I was a little nervous there for a second. I said, maybe we don't like the doors. I don't know. I will now motion to adjourn this committee meeting. Do I have a second?
Second, McPherson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We will now adjourn the operational or the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee at 9:14. Okay.
And I will convene the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee meeting, also at 9:14. Could I have a roll call for the committee members?
Jeffrey Sleesman, Chair.
Present, yep.
Lauren Welch,
Present.
Mayor Gallo,
Here.
Stephen Young, Love,
Yes.
Reverend Lucas. That is it.
Thank you. Our first item is an approval of the minutes. Do I have, I'll move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Love.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Those minutes from April 15th will be approved. We have a few items today, a couple change orders, a couple budget items, and then a public hearing. The first proposed change order is Project 12DA, Bungalow Foundations for the Trunk Line Resignaling. And we'll have presenters Kathleen McGurvey and Jen Martin. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Sleesman, members of the committee, members of the board. Again, I'm Kathleen McGurvey, Project Manager for TRAC in the Engineering Department, here with Jen Martin from Procurement. And we are presenting a change order for the bungalow foundations for the trunk line resignaling. This contract was awarded in January of 2023 in an amount not to exceed $347,000. Project is located on the trunk line, and from this graphic, you can see that that's on the blue and the green lines where they're together after 55th and up to Shaker Square. Here's an example of a bungalow. It's just a steel structure. A central instrument house is another name for it, and it contains the signal system logic, including the relays, processors, and other associated equipment. Again, the purpose of this project is to install bungalow foundations in support of the signal system project under another contract. This change order includes design changes that were proposed by the signal system contractor, and it also extends the construction dates through summer of 2025. And the main physical change that is part of this is the expansion of some of the bungalow foundations, and that's going to require additional excavation, also some retaining walls due to the fact that we're in a hillside. The engineer's estimate for this project is $95,000 or $95,538.88. And now I'll turn it over to Jen.
Good morning, I'm Jen Martin. I'm contract administrator for this project. So to go over the process of the increase for the change order. So the base contract was authorized by resolution number 2023-3 in the amount not to exceed $347,000. The notice to proceed was issued on March 31st of 2023. The current signing authority for the general manager change order authority is $100,000. And at this time, there has been 8 no-cost time extensions change orders that have already been issued. And this was because of the signal contractor, also with current design changes that delayed this project. So because we had 8 no-cost time extension change orders, the signing authority remains at $100,000. The proposed change order for this project and for the additional work is $124,540.13, and it will include all costs associated with the design changes as well as the new construction schedule. They have been assigned, when the project first came out, they've been assigned a DBE goal of 23%, and Northeast Ohio Trenching Services remains committed to achieving that 23% DBE goal. Procurement and engineering have followed the change order process, which includes this change order going through the change order committee, and it was approved. Staff recommends moving forward with this change. Staff requests that the Operational and Planning and Infrastructure Committee recommend approval for the proposed change order to Northeast Ohio Trenching Services in the amount not to exceed $124,540.43, resulting in a new contract amount not to exceed $471,540.43. This change order will also reinstate the general manager's signing authority to $100,000. We will take any questions the board may have.
Great, thanks. Do I have any questions from the committee? Or from the board as a whole?
Thank you, Chair. Just a question. These bungalows, are these used throughout our rail system, and we're just repairing one section of them, and then we kind of rotate around, or is it?
Okay, so this project is in support of the new trunk line signal system project. And in fact, that section of the line doesn't have any bungalows right now. It's just cases with very old equipment, like from the early 1900s. So, with this update of the signal system, we're going to need these buildings here. And all throughout our system, we do have bungalows.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? If not, do I have a motion to bring this to the board? I'll move to bring it to the board. Do I have a second?
Second, Love.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That will go to the full board. Now we have a proposed change order for Project 66C, Brook Park Yard Track Improvement. And we'll have Kathleen again and Jonathan Lawley. Did I pronounce that correctly? Yes, sir. Great. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. And again, we're presenting on a change order for the Brook Park Yard Track improvements. And this contract was awarded in February of 2025 and an amount not to exceed $2,589,826. And the project is located in Brook Park Yard, as you might guess. And this is just a picture of the overall area where this project occurs. The work is in support of the new rail car commissioning, which will take place at Brook Park Yard and Shop. This cable that we're purchasing through this change order was originally to be purchased by an individual procurement, but we did not receive any favorable timeframes for that. So the project would not have moved forward on time for the rail cars if we use those. So we decided to do it by change order, and the engineer's estimate for this change was $279,845. And that's for 7,000 lineal feet of this 1,000 KC mil or MCM cable for this project. Now I'll turn it over to Jonathan.
All right. Good morning. Jonathan Lawley, Program Contract Manager for this project. So this item we're talking about was completed through the change order process. It was reviewed by the change order committee and recommended to move forward to this point. The base contract here was authorized by Resolution 2025-27 in an amount not to exceed $2,589,826. The notice to proceed on this project was issued on March 26, 2025. The general manager change order authority on this project is $250,000. To date, there have not been any change orders issued. Now, this change order here that we're talking about today will be in the amount of $261,241.02, and this includes the cost associated with the cable and will not impact the construction schedule. The prime contractor, Railworks Track Services Incorporated, remains committed to achieving the 17% DB participation goal that has been assigned to this project. The staff is requesting that the committee recommend approval of this change order to Railworks Track Services Incorporated, a negotiated amount not to exceed $261,241.02, resulting in a new contract value of $2,851,067.02. This change order will also reinstate the general manager's signing authority to $250,000. Do we have any questions?
Any questions from the committee or the board as a whole? Okay, I have one quick question. Could you go back to that slide that I think was the first one, the one with the engineer's estimate? That estimate was for the original procurement or for this change?
For this change.
For this change. Out of curiosity, how much, do we have an estimate for how much that original procurement, if we bought the cable, would have been?
Essentially,
Similar?
I kind of used an average of the 3 proposals we received.
Okay.
So this price was right in there with those.
Okay. Great. And yeah, that answers my question, and if it
Okay.
keeps things on time, I think it's a good move. If there are no other questions, I'll move to approve this and send it to the full board. Do I have a second?
Second, Gallo.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This will pass from committee to the full board for approval then. We have a couple budget items now. First, capital budget, increasing the fiscal year 2025 capital improvement plan budget. And we'll have presenters Eric Vukmanik. Yep, close enough.
Yep.
Mike Schipper and Mary Flannery. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Chair Sleesman, committee members, and officers of the board. My name is Eric Vukmanik, and I am the manager of budgets at the Office of Management for the Office of Management and Budget. Today, I will be presenting the amended 2025 Capital Improvement Fund budget. Just some background on the railcar history. Back in April of 2023, the board approved purchase of 24 railcars at an estimated $5.1 million apiece, with an option to purchase up to 36 additional rail vehicles. In November of 2023, an additional 6 cars were purchased at an average, again, of $5.1 million per car. And then in November of 2024, an additional 18 cars were approved, bringing our total up to 48 vehicles on order at an average of 5.8 million per car. We are requesting to increase the 2025 capital improvement budget, which was approved back in May of 2024, to increase for the budget for 12 additional rail vehicles. Our estimate will be at about roughly $6 million per car. The resolution for the option of 12 rail vehicles will be coming to the board in a few months. Just a reminder, a couple of the funding sources that we are using to pay for these vehicles. We have federal funding, which breaks down between our formula and our competitive grants, our state funding, and then our local funding, which is our sales tax and bonds if needed. So as you will see, we will be increasing the railcar program from 2025 by $72 million. That will increase our total by $72 million. So we will be increasing from a total of $181.7 million up to a total of $253.7 million. Staff recommends to the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee to present this amended capital budget resolution to the full board for approval. Are there any questions?
Thanks for that. Are there any questions from the committee or the board as a whole? Mr. Love?
Yeah, thank you for the overview. And I think just for context in the timing and phasing of this, just if you could speak to like the timing and the reasoning and the urgency of now to move forward with the additional option.
I can take that. Mr. Love, excellent question. I think the timing really is that we do need to make a decision on the 12 remaining rail cars in 2025. So that is likely to happen this year. And this particular amendment to the budget allows us and gives us the spending authority for the remaining 12 cars. So it's going to happen in 2025. If we do not exercise that option, there would be some delays in the production line. You may lose your spot in the production cycle and may incur some additional penalties, which we're trying to avoid.
Raj, if you wouldn't mind, just from the original capital budget, obviously you've highlighted some sources of funds, but those are sources that have materialized since we passed the capital budget?
We have, and in fact, the second part of this presentation that Eric Vukmanik, along with Mike Schipper and Mary Flannery, will talk about the funding a little bit more. But just a quick overview, as of right now, as far as the railcar program is concerned, there is a TBD or an unfunded of roughly $33 million. We do have certain applications that are pending, and we are awaiting the results of those applications. Those applications amount to about $37.1 million, and that would take care of it, assuming we get the entire amount that we're applying for. If not, debt has never been ruled out. We will continue looking at additional opportunities for grants, and if debt needs to be issued, we'll consider that.
Any other? Yep.
So this is, I didn't do the math, but this was the last segment of cars?
That is correct.
Okay.
So the entire estimate for the rail cars was 60 vehicles. We have already procured 48. So this is the remaining 12.
Just for some history, originally we had 72 rail cars currently, right?
between the two different
74, right,
lines. I
right.
think
But now we're going to, with one standard line, we're able to shrink that.
because it's a common use car that we can actually use on different lines. And
One last question. Also, the estimate on the cost, is that coming from the manufacturer, or is that our estimate on what we expect that the cost to be?
that is the best estimate based on the information that we currently have available. If you recall in prior presentations, there is a base price that we worked off of, and then there were two indices that we all agreed to would be used to determine the step increases. So when back in November, just a few months ago, when we exercised that option, our estimate was 5.8 million per rail car. We're estimating 6 for this particular budget amendment.
And I'm assuming there's no change in the design or the outfitting of the cars, and they're remaining?
Not to my knowledge, but I'm going to look for no other design changes.
Just checking.
Okay.
The idea, and Raj is completely correct. So I appreciate the questions. I was going to say I like the questions. I do. We went through this ad nauseum as a group as well. There'll be more information to be able to talk about the cost per car. As Raj mentioned, the 5.1 to 5.8, if I'm not mistaken, is where we are now, which is where the 6 million keeps us in a good spot. But we want to be able to move quickly to be able to capitalize on the remaining 12 cars so that we can realize the 60 and move forward with replacement of everything. With all of the inflation going on and all of the changes, we want to make sure that we kind of secure the funding and the amounts that we have within contract. So we do understand that we're not the only ones that are buying rail cars as well. It's a very competitive market. 60 cars sounds like a lot to us here in Cleveland, but it is a drop in the bucket when you are in an international market, when you're looking at the likes of New York City and LA and Chicago, who have hundreds of rail cars at some point. So we want to make sure, excuse me, that we can capitalize on that 6 million per car and make sure that we don't exceed that while the market is what it is.
Thanks. Are there any other questions from the committee or the board? If not, do I have a motion to bring this to the whole board for approval?
Motion, Love.
Have a second?
Second Welch.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That stands approved and will go to the full board for approval. The next item is another capital budget item. This one is for presentation of the fiscal year 2026 to 2030 capital improvement plan. And we have the same presenters, so the floor is yours.
Good morning, Chair Sleesman again. Committee members and officers of the board. My name is Eric Vukmanic, and I am the Manager of Budgets for the Office of Management and Budget. Today we'll be presenting the 2026 to 2030 proposed CIP. With me are Mary Flannery, Grants Management Administrator, and Mike Shipper, Deputy General Manager of Engineering and Project Management. Just a presentation overview. We'll talk a little bit about the two capital funds, our committees we go through, and our schedule, the ranking criteria they use, and then we'll get into the proposed capital budget and 5-year plan, our sources of funding, our 2026 specific capital projects, along with our unfunded list, and then get into our public hearing. So our capital improvement fund is split into two categories, our RTA Capital Fund and our RTA Development Fund. RTA Capital is 100% locally funded and normally projects up to $250,000. This category is split into two different sections, our routine capital, which is for the acquisition of our non-revenue vehicles and small equipment purchases, and our asset maintenance is to rehab our assets at our passenger station and operating facilities. Our development fund is generally any projects over $250,000 and can be funded through grants and or local funds. Starting with our two committees we use to set this process, we have our Capital Program Working Group. This is a majority of the directors across the authority. They receive all the capital requests in, review them, and rank them accordingly. They then get prioritized and get sent over to our Capital Program Oversight Committee, which is the majority of the executives across the authority, and their goal is to achieve the authority's long-range goals and make sure they are met. So looking at our schedule that we went through, we started our capital plan in September of 2024. All the projects were submitted across the authority from all the departments. They were reviewed and submitted to the capital program working group for prioritization and recommendation into our CPOC group. OMB and CPOC review and finalized our projects and the funding with each project. We are here in May presenting the 5-year plan, going to have the public hearing and recommendation to the board. And then in June, our goal is to submit to NOACA for review and approval. The ranking criteria that all the projects go through, along with the weights that we rank them against, are listed here. So state of good repair, health and safety, mandates, ridership TOD, operating budget impact, and our environmental impact. Proposed is our 5-year plan based on project category. As you can see, for 2026, we have $167.8 million in the budget. For our 5-year proposed budget, we have a $602.8 million proposal. Based on that breakdown of 2026 alone, our rail car program is 24% of that budget, followed by our facilities improvements category at 22%, and our buses category at 18%. I will turn it over to Mike Schipper to speak on some of the projects within that plan.
All right. Thanks, Eric. My name is Mike Schipper. I'm the Deputy General Manager of Engineering and Project Management. We will look at the 26 highlights by category. We won't list all the projects, but we'll go through that, and then we'll talk about what's funded and some of our unfunded areas, and then Mary will talk about our competitive grants. Within the program, again, this is 26, but we have a lot of projects in 25 that have already come to the board that are multi-year construction. So these projects will carry into 26. The rail car replacement program, not only the cars, but the infrastructure that we're doing at the platforms and the shops. Lift replacements at some of our bus garages. And you'll see some of these contracts later this year. The Tower City project will carry on into next year. The Metro Health BRT, we're currently in the design phase, but we have easement acquisitions next year and grant applications for construction into next year. The light rail track rehab program is carrying on for a multi-year. We do have a project out to bid right now for the project at Warrensville Van Aken on the tracks. We just recently awarded the Van Aken Station, East 79th Station, and these projects will be kicking off shortly with carrying into 2026. So that's some of that other work that's going on, which is a lot. As we move into 26, when it comes to the bus garage category, we have more lift replacement projects. We have an automated storage and retrieval system. If you've been at Central Bus for the tour of that, that's how we get all of our parts from inventory and out into the shop. At Hayden, we're looking at expanding our CNG plant as we are bringing in more CNG vehicles and some fire protection upgrades. Our facilities, which are both bridges and things within the rail complex, we have some design contracts for 2 of our bridges, the one over Canal Road and the viaduct, the second phase of the viaduct program. From a construction standpoint, we have a project to replace the wash rack in the rail shop, the HVAC system at the rail district, and a track bridge for the west entrance into the rail yard. If we were to be able to win one of our competitive grants, we will be able to move that into construction next year. On rail projects, again, the light rail track program, we have design support. A lot of that's done in-house, but we do have our on-call engineers that are helping us. Same thing on the signal system with our on-call signal system. And then track 3 within the rail house is one of the designs that we're doing because it needs to be upgraded. Construction similar on the light rail. The overhead catenary, Phase 3 is the section on the light rail system, our substation at Windermere, and signal system, including some of the bungalows on the red line. Our other project category includes the update to the strategic plan and upgrades to bus shelters in support of some of the grant funding that we've gotten from ODOT for the workforce development grants. And again, with the Metro Health line. Within the capital program, I think one of the things that's really important within the capital program as we laid out the whole 5 years, we wanted to make sure that the entire rail program covered the budget that we brought to you a couple months ago, the $450 million, including all the contingencies. We also wanted to fully fund our bus replacement program. We've won a lot of competitive grants, so we used that to make sure that that was balanced. And then to also fund the paratransit vehicle program so that we can increase our fleet from the 80 vehicles we have to the 100. So within that next year, we're looking at another 40 CNG vehicles and another 20 paratransit vehicles. Unfunded stuff, we do put this up here. Even within the program, there are, in the 5-year program, there's some things that have to be determined. And part of that to be determined is we put it in the program because we know we're going after competitive grants. And it helps us in the grant process if it's something that's in our plan, in our 5-year plan, and something that's in the state transportation improvement plan. So a lot of times we stage those things so that we can, our grant applications are more successful. So again, we also, before the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, this number was around $500 million of unfunded. So we've been working it down. 242 is pretty close to where we were last year. So we have funding needs, again, as Raj mentioned earlier, $33 million for the rail car. So that means we have 417 of the 450. I like to look at it that way. We're in the last 10%. Bus garages, we have some unfunded needs there. Bus replacement program as we get to the out years. Facilities, equipment, rail track is our big one because we are still trying to fully fund the upgrade of the light rail system on the blue and green lines. And we also have track needs in our yard, which will be revamping as we get the new rail cars, and we don't need as many tracks as we have in the yard now. Station money, and then of course we still have to get the FTA Small Starts grant for the health line. With that, I will turn this over to Mary.
Back on your page with the other,
Yes, sir.
what happened to the emphasis that we wanted to make sure that the restaurant at Baker Square became ADA compliant? And I see it's been dropped off of that sheet.
Yeah, and that's a,
Where does that stand now?
actually, I'm not 100% sure. I have to get with our real estate manager and our tenant. That's a real estate manager tenant issue. I know what you're talking about. And I know our tenant has not done everything that we wanted. So
What are we doing about that? I've been on that case quite a few years.
again, I will have our real estate manager bring that up with our tenant again. Yes.
Yeah. Reverend, we'll make sure that we have an update for you at the next board meeting as to what's going on with that one. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Slaisman, committee members, and officers of the board. My name is Mary Flannery, and I am the Grants Management Administrator. Today, I will present the funding plan supporting current and future capital projects. As you can see from our first slide here, RTA receives funding from a variety of sources, the largest of which is the Department of Transportation umbrella, which the Federal Transit Administration and Federal Highway Administration fall under. And it also receives Federal Emergency Management Agency funding, also known as FEMA, mainly for transit police activities. It also receives funding through the state of Ohio, from the Ohio Department of Transportation and the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, as well as local funds, which include sales and use tax and bonds if needed. And our next slide here just gives you a little visual on how the funding stacks up. As you can see from this display here, a little over 49% of the funding is federal, with not quite 10% being state, and the local being just under 19%, as well as other forces to be determined, little over 22%. In November 2021, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, also known as the IIJA, was signed into legislation representing $108 billion in public transportation, the largest in U.S. history. With this increase, RTA was able to program $14 million additional dollars for capital projects, increasing the annual apportionment from $56 million to $70 million. Additional funds allowed RTA to expedite projects which would not have been funded, such as rail car replacement, infrastructure modification, bridge rehabilitation, the waterfront line, Metro Health BRT, and information technology projects. The Ohio Department of Transportation supports RTA's capital program with general revenue funds in approximately $14 million per year, as well as flex funding through the Diesel Emission Reduction Grant, also known as DERG, and the Ohio Transit Partnership Program, also known as OTP2, as well as Ohio Workforce Mobility Program funding, which serves to connect Ohio residents to employment. Grants Management and Treasury will continue to seek competitive grants to provide funding over the base level. So I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the competitive grant funding that was awarded in 2024. The first on our list here is the ASAP funding in the amount of $16 million, which will be used to rehab Blue Line stations. Currently, the Blue Line station consists of 11 light rail stations, 3 of which are ADA compliant. The ASAP funds will rehab the remaining 8 blue stations, bringing them into ADA compliance. Also, I want to note the refurbished stations will accommodate the new rail fleet anticipated to be operational in calendar year 2027. RTA also received funding for its bus improvement program, which will replace up to 20 vehicles per year. A combination of funding through the Urban Transit Program and the Diesel Emission Program in the amount of $6.8 million, as well as $15.2 million from NOACA's Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Program, also known as CMAQ, and $10.6 million from FTA's Low or No Emission Program for the Electrification Bus Pilot Program, which will purchase 8 to 10 electric vehicles. Additional grant funding in 2024 includes $8.2 million from the OTP2 program, ODOT's OTP2 program, in the amount of for rail car replacement, as well as $844,000 for LED signage, which will be used along the Health Line corridor. It received $700,000 from FTA to fund transit planning along the Lorraine corridor, as well as $1.8 million in Ohio Workforce Mobility Program funds for transit enhancements connecting Ohio residents to job locations. And you can see the total awards for 2024 total approximately $6.1 million. I'm sorry, they are $6.1 million.
Before you move on to that, but sometimes when we review that page or the other pages looked at, sounds like you decided, let's get a few dollars here, let's get a few dollars here. This is some hard work to get each one of these grants. And I want to congratulate the committee and board for working on this for some time. The number of awards that we're getting, the grant submissions that have come up from, we were talking about 20 million, we were talking about 6 million. Good work. Good job.
Thank you for the kind words. Appreciate it. It's definitely a team effort.
Give me a birthday card.
So continuing on, let's talk about some of our 2025 grant submissions. Right now, we have 4 applications that are outstanding. 2 are with ODOT through its OTP2 program. We're requesting $37.1 million for replacement rail vehicles and an additional $1.2 million for LED signage, which will be used along the CSU line and the red line. And these were submitted back in December, so we anticipate them being adjudicated hopefully sometime this month. If not, at the latest, we're hoping to hear from ODOT by June. And we have 2 other applications which were recently submitted. We requested $2.6 million from NOACA for paratransit vehicles. That was filed on April 9th. And we requested $24.4 million from NOACA for what they call CMAQ funding for bus replacements. And that was filed on 5/2/25. So I don't anticipate we'll hear from those. Probably take a few months before we actually find out once they're adjudicated. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the grant opportunities for 2025. RTA anticipates applying for each of these. ASAP funds in the amount of $16 million to rehabilitate 8 Green Line stations. Bus and Bus Facility Program in the amount of $8 million for the Triscuit garage roof replacement. The Urban Transit Program and diesel emission reduction grants, $6.8 million to fund bus improvement. FTA Transit-Oriented Development in the amount of $700,000 to fund a planning grant along the Kinsman Road corridor. And ODOT Transportation Review Advisory Council funding in the amount of $16.7 million for light rail track enhancement, rehabilitation. And with that, I'm going to open it up to questions.
Thanks for that presentation and the detailed information on the grants applications, both won last year and submitted for this year. Do I have any questions from the committee or from the board as a whole?
Thank you, Chair. This is maybe more of a question for Raj and Mike, perhaps. I'm just looking at the overall capital improvement plan that you presented, the 2026 through 2030. The aggregate amount per year steadily declines from 2026 out to 2030. And I wasn't sure whether that's a result of projects that are in the pipeline that are being completed and rolling off, but I'm assuming new ones are coming on. And then I thought, well, maybe it doesn't include ones we don't have funding sources for. Just help me out so I can kind of.
Yeah, it's more oh, Mike, go
Yeah,
ahead, please.
Mayor Weiss, I'll address it because you hit on probably all pieces of that. So the major piece in the 5-year program is that the current IIJA funding goes through fiscal year 26. So that current funding level funds projects in this program that go for 26 and 27. We have been a little conservative because when the IIJA was passed, it was passed in a way that it had a base level at the old FAST Act level, and then they had this, additional funding piece, which was the additional $14 million a year that we were receiving. The way that it was written is if the IIJA, when it expires, is not renewed, that additional piece disappears, the way the legislation was written. Now, we hope that doesn't happen, but if they get into a continuing resolution extension, it could be extended at the old FAST Act area funding level. So we did not want to program projects utilizing that 14 million until we had a better feel for what's going to happen in reauthorization. So that's one of the drop-offs. The other drop-off is that as we have identified and won grants, some of those we've won at levels that were higher than what we had in the program, or they were at levels where we won the entire amount and then we're able to reprogram some of the formula funds that we had in that area, particularly in the bus area. So, so 26 and 27 are higher, kind of reflecting what we've won, what we hope to win this year, and what we're trying to go and win over the next couple years. 27, 28, and 29, we're being somewhat conservative because of the reauthorization of the IIJA. So it's a little of both. You'll also notice that our preventative maintenance goes up in those areas because we could program some money in preventative maintenance, and if that level changes, it doesn't impact the projects we have. So we wanted to be realistic about the projects in 27, 28, and 29. So we didn't want to overpromise projects in those years.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I had one question, and you may not have the answer to this right off the top, but maybe for a follow-up. I know there were some things Vice President Welch and I had talked with the CEO on, escalator at Triscuit that's been out for a while. It may be functioning, and I know there was some issues with an elevator, I believe, at West Boulevard. And I was just curious if where those are those items included in this, some of this capital planning? It might be addressed in the current year, but again, I know there were some things that management was looking at short-term and long-term, and just was curious if you had an update on that.
Yes, I can update that. I know we've had a discussion about Triscuit in trying to figure out what to do in terms of rehab or removal. Right now, we're looking at that more in the asset maintenance side. But if you notice, we've now created, starting in 27, 28, I think starting in 28, we've created a elevator line item in the budget, which is new. We do have programs in place right now for this year to address the Windermere, Superior, and the main office. And then we also have money programmed for West 25th, and then we have the kind of the program. So we're attacking it from kind of two sides: the things that need to be replaced in the capital program, and some of the more heavy maintenance in the asset maintenance side. So it's shows up in a couple different places. And at West Park, we're probably going to end up taking the escalators out.
Right, because you have an elevator there.
Yeah.
Right, and so
Yeah.
I understand that, but it's just good to have that plan, because it's not a great look always to have it non-functioning. But I think West Boulevard, just because of accessibility issues, that's probably, why that's, I think, remains a concern.
Yeah. Yes.
Great, thanks. Mr. Love?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation this morning. You touched on it a minute ago with respect to the IIJA, but just more broadly, what types of contingencies are underway from a planning standpoint in conjunction with the CIP in the scenario where federal funding is perhaps even more significantly impacted, right? 49% current projection, but how are you beginning to think about that?
Yeah.
Prioritizing.
Well, again, we're being conservative in 28, 29, and 30, so that we're not programming projects if IIJA doesn't get reauthorized and gets moved back to the FAST Act. So that's one. On some other stuff, even as we are looking at the program, some of the things in the program we've escalated the dollar values in, as opposed to adding projects, because we are also fighting inflation and supply chain issues. I think we all are aware of those. So some of the projects we've increased the amounts than what we had in last year. So that took some of the funding, and we're trying to be, somewhat agile about that. But the inflation on our projects is not across the board, it's more project by project. So we, as we've come to the board, we've had projects, at or under budget, and then we've had a number of them at 9 or 10% over our budget. And they're, it's not consistent. So we're trying to adjust for that. And that does keep us from adding more projects to the program, but we're trying to make sure we have the appropriate funding for the things that are in the program.
One thing, if I could add to that, piggyback, is one of these slides, there was a lot today, but there was other projects that Mike went over, and our strategic plan is part of that other category. And that's a really good opportunity, that's a really good opportunity to be able to look at opportunities for adjustment, especially in light of all of the things that are happening upstate and downstate, to be able to say if IIJA kind of fizzles out, if grant opportunities have changed significantly, then we can reprioritize the remaining 4+ years of the strategic plan to be able to kind of play a little bit of financial Jenga to make sure that we can finish out the projects that we are absolutely in dire need of versus those that maybe are experiencing inflation beyond our control. So we do have that also programmed in, I want to say for mid next year, Mike, if I'm not mistaken, spring?
Hopefully early.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, if everything works out,
There we
hopefully
go.
early next year, because if we have it which we do have it in the budget for 26, we can start to procure anything that has a 26, we can start the procurement of those at the end of 25. That way we, again, just as we did this year, we've had a lot of contracts come to the board in January and February. So we're trying to front load not only with that, but definitely with the construction program so that we're getting good bids over the winter, and then they're ready to start work when it's starting to get nice out like now. And the other piece of the CIP, again, it's a rolling 5-year program. So we're here every year on the 5-year program. And because it's a rolling 5-year program, it does give us the ability to adjust year by year. And we are doing that all the time.
Thanks. Are there any other questions from the committee or the board? Yep.
Sorry to continue. But switching gears for a minute, I just want to transition to the bus and fleet question. Going off the 26 to 2030, does that zero out diesel, at least in the projection from a bus fleet?
Not quite. We still have, it's going to be pretty close because I think we still have the trolleys that will be aging out in 28 or 29 or 30. I mean, we're not running the trolleys as much. They don't have as much mileage as they used to, but the trolleys are still diesel, and we still have some 45-foot MCIs that are diesel. The 40-footers should age out completely in the 5-year program. But we'll still have a few diesels. And again, our paratransit vehicles are gasoline, so they're,
Thank you for that. And as far as we understand it, the zero emission fleet analysis could inform future CIP as a rolling process. And that process is getting underway this year.
Yes, as a matter of fact, they had I think there was a workshop on that last week, I believe. So yeah, and that study is ongoing and has started. We had a workshop last week on it, and the consultant is providing a pretty significant amount of detail about what's happening around the country with in the EV, in the conversion, not only for EV, but also fuel cell they had in there too. So some of the other things that are available moving forward.
Thank you for that. And just a final comment more than a question. I do think that this is a helpful presentation and an overview. I do think that perhaps, just going forward, how do we think about some better visualizations, that could tie sort of the strategic plan to the prioritization on sort of how you categorize projects in the CIP, to then helping to understand the implications around funding source. Like, I think there's just opportunities for more visualization, especially for public, public consumption and review. That's just a overall comment, but thank you.
Thanks. Do you have any other questions? Okay, if not, we will have a public hearing for this. Should we move to approve first? Or
I believe the next step is to move to a public hearing on this matter.
I believe we suspend, don't we?
No, you just, you don't have to, you can move, but you just move to a public hearing. You're talking about suspending the committee meeting? Is that what you're asking? Yes, you can do that. I apologize, I didn't catch. Don't we have to accept?
You have to move the item
report?
What was that?
after, yeah.
We'll do it after. All right, so I'll move to suspend this committee meeting. Do I have a second?
Second Welch.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the committee meeting will stand suspended, and we will open up the public hearing. Could I have you read the budget statement?
Yes.
So Eric will do that, yep.
Yes. This is the official public hearing on the proposed capital improvement budget for the fiscal year 2026 for the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority. As required by the Ohio Revised Code, the information concerning the fiscal year 2026 capital improvement budget is available for public inspection in the Office of Management and Budget of this authority. Public notice of this hearing was given by publication of a legal advertisement in the Cleveland Urban News on April 18th, 2025 and April 20th, 2025, and in the Cleveland Plain Dealer on April 16th, 2025 and April 20th, 2025, as well as by posting of notice in the first floor lobby of the authority's main office building, at the Customer Service Center, in the Tower City Rotunda, RTA Facebook page, X, and on the authority's website. The capital improvement plan documents were available for review upon request at least 2 weeks in advance. Notification was given on these sites on how to virtually attend the committee meeting, public hearing, and board meeting, and how to submit a comment for the public hearing. The fiscal year 2026 capital improvement plan was presented to the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee of the RTA Board of Trustees on Tuesday, May 6, 2025, and will request that the fiscal year 2026 to 2030 capital improvement plan be recommended to the full board for approval on May 20th, 2025. The capital improvement budget process was started in September 2024, where requests were submitted for review. The projects were then reviewed by the authority's Capital Program Working Group and Capital Program Oversight Committee. The fiscal year 2026 to 2030 capital improvement plan was completed in April 2025 to comply with NOACA's revised project planning review schedule. This ensures that funding will be aligned with the fiscal years of NOACA, ODOT, and FTA. If any adjustments are needed, they will be made and considered by the board at the appropriate time. The fiscal year 2026 to 2030 capital improvement plan totals $602.8 million, of which $167.8 million is budgeted for fiscal year 2026. The authority's focus continues to be on replacement of rail vehicles and rail infrastructure projects. The 2026 to 2030 capital improvement plan includes projects that are not fully funded, where funding sources are yet to be determined. Unfunded projects total approximately $242.2 million, where the local match has been reserved, but the total federal funding has not been identified. Sales tax is the funding source for 100% locally funded projects, as well as the local match for federal and state awards. The authority's financial goals is to transfer a minimum of 10% of the annual sales tax receipts into the capital improvement program. Thank you.
Thank you. We will have public comment. Do we have anyone in person? Didn't think so. Do we have anyone on the phone?
We currently have no callers.
And have there been any submissions online?
No, there were no submissions online.
Okay. Well, with that, I will move to reconvene the committee meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And we will be back in committee. So, sorry, okay. And we will, there's go ahead. Yeah,
Move
go
to the
ahead.
recommendation. Staff recommends to the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee to present the 2026 to 2030 CIP resolution to the full board for approval.
And is there a motion to,
Motion Welch.
is there a second?
Second, Love.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And this resolution will move to the full board for approval. Given that that was our last item, I will move to adjourn the committee meeting. Is there a second?
Second, Gallo.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This committee meeting stands adjourned at 10:11.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're called to order the Audit, Safety, Compliance, and Real Estate Committee on today, Tuesday, May 6, 2025, at 12 minutes after 10. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor David Weiss,
Present.
Lauren Welch,
Present.
Anesthesia Elder,
Here.
Emily Parchetti, is out sick, Jeffrey Sleesman.
Yep.
Thank you. First item is approval of the minutes of the meeting on April 1st, 2025. You have a draft in your package. Are there any changes, corrections, revisions to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved, Sleesman.
Second, Elder.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the minutes are approved. We have one item, substantive item, on the agenda for today. This relates to the TROE Kingsbury project. Proposal to approve a temporary right of entry agreement with Triad Super Joint Venture for construction of the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District's Kingsbury Run Consolidation Sewer Project. And today we have Jim Reed, Property Manager, to present. The floor is yours, Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Chairperson Weiss, members of the committee, members of the board. I'm Jim Reed, the property manager here at RTA. Here to present a temporary right of entry agreement for construction on the Kingsbury Run Consolidated Sewer Project. You may recall that last month I presented several temporary and permanent easements for the construction and operation of the sewer project being built by the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. Today I'm presenting a right of entry agreement with the general contractor for this project. The duration of this agreement will be approximately 3.5 years. So under RTA policies, it requires approval of the Board of Trustees. The proposed right of entry agreement would be entered into with Triad Super Joint Venture, which was the successful bidder for the project. So today, I'll briefly review the project again and the locations, review the terms and conditions of the proposed right of entry agreement, look at an overview of the construction activities we can expect, and answer any questions that you may have. The purpose of this right of entry agreement is to allow for the orderly construction, operation, and maintenance of access roads, sewer lines, relief sewers, and flow regulator structures on authority property. We utilize a legal agreement, which is technically a license agreement, to permit entry upon the property, assure non-interference with RTA operations or property, and obtain an indemnification against any claims or injuries or damages arising from the construction activities. By way of background, the sewer district project is part of Project Clean Lake, which we talked about last time. It's a $3 billion program to meet Clean Water Act standards and address water quality issues. The project will reduce combined sewer outflows released into the Cuyahoga River via new sewer lines, new relief sewers, and new rehabilitated flow regulator structures, a lot of which is occurring right here in Kingsbury Yard. The project area spans from the Opportunity Corridor near Kinsman south to the Southerly Wastewater Treatment Plant in Cuyahoga Heights. The construction is expected to continue through 2028. This is our general location, Kinsman Road at Opportunity Corridor, just east of RTA's Central Rail Facility. Kingsbury Yard, of course, is a 15-acre parcel. It's a large ravine area, approximately 3 acres of usable area there at the bottom. This is the authority's primary storage and staging area for large heavy rail components, and has a spur track on the northwest end of the property for loading, offloading, and delivery to job sites in the rail system. Hold on one second here. Oh, this slide highlights the 5 work locations and the general locations of how they will access those work sites. Just a word about the joint venture here. It's a general partnership registered in the state of Ohio. It consists of 2 entities, Triad Engineering of Brooklyn, Ohio. They are specialists in underground construction and engineering solutions. And Super Excavators, Inc. of Menominee, Wisconsin, providing expertise in advanced tunneling projects. The terms and conditions of this right of entry agreement, we are providing a duration approximately 3.5 years through December 31, 2028. The term may be extended up to an additional year with the consent of RTA. All of the plans have been reviewed and approved in the engineering division. We have a strict non-interference terms and conditions, so authority operations on this property will take priority. The agreement also provides for restoration of the authority property at the conclusion of the construction. So this is where the main thrust of the work takes place. This is an 80-foot deep shaft that they'll be excavating. The location, the tan line running from the bottom left corner to the top represents the Sidaway Bridge, which is 60 feet above. So this is in the area below the bridge. The green lines represent the areas to be excavated, some of it from the surface, some of it underground. Now this shaft that they're putting in this place, in this location, will be large enough to accommodate the boring machine, which will bore those tunnels, the one identified as a 90-inch tunnel, that's a pretty big one, and the other being basically an overflow tunnel that goes to another structure. This is an illustration of the structure they will build in that shaft. It's a containment structure, 69 feet deep, 21 feet wide. It's constructed in place with concrete forms, and this will hold and direct the major part of the flow that they're trying to control here. This second location for a relief sewer is located at the northwest end of our property here, near the Y track or the rail spur. They're going to be excavating a receiving pit here. There will be a fence around this site, as with the other site, for track protection. This is within one of the permanent easements that's been granted. This location, work site is at the Grand Avenue entrance. This is the main entrance to the Central Rail facility. It's at the north end of this property. They're building a regulator structure right there in the roadway and have provision for us to detour around that location so that our access is preserved. Again, this is a regulator facility to connect to 48 and 60-inch existing sewer lines. The final site is near Kinsman and East 66th. This excavation actually for this regulator is actually not taking place on RTA property. We've granted a small easement across where up in the corner where it says fence line up at the top of the illustration, just for access to the construction site. Staff requests that the committee recommend this agreement to the Board of Trustees for approval. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. I know, as you mentioned, you did present this at our last committee meeting. Very extensive discussion, and appreciate the level of detail you've provided the committee. So, questions from the committee or the board as a whole? And just to clarify, nothing has changed from what we saw last month. These are just additional.
No.
Right.
This is the construction that will be taking place within the easements,
right,
the temporary and the permanent. And then, of course, some of the structures I've discussed here will be left behind in the permanent easement areas,
But
and become part
substantially,
of the overall sewer infrastructure.
yeah, substantially in accordance with what we saw
Oh, yes.
last time. Yeah, okay, just wanted to make sure. If there are no other questions from the committee or the board, is there a motion? Moved by Reverend Lucas. Is there a second?
Second, Elder.
Thank you. Would the clerk please, or all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. The agreement will be forwarded on to the full board. Not seeing anything else on the agenda. Oh, there is one other item. Just as a reminder to those that are required to file financial statements with the Ethics Commission, the deadline is May 15th. So for most of the mayors, we have to comply with those, as well as other board members. So just a reminder on that front.
We have an audit meeting coming up, right, on May 13th at 9 a.m. And so that's open, obviously, for the Internal Audit Committee, but for those of you that haven't had a chance to sit in that aren't on the committee, I would recommend, if you're able to attend, I can have Ava send you out an invite of the time. It's 9 o'clock on May 13th, but it's always very informative updates from Mr. Carafoli. And you had one update before we...
I do. I'm going to punt to Raj to be able to give an update about an adjustment that we have in personnel for procurement coming up. This is a soft pitch. We'll more formally advise you at the next board meeting, but we wanted to give you an update, given all of the things that we have on the agenda today.
Thank you, India. After approximately 28 years at RTA, Melinda D'Angelo, our current Director of Procurement, has decided to spend some more time with family and do other fun things called under retirement. Knowing the importance of that position, we started the search a couple months ago. It was an exhaustive search, and in a procurement tone, the evaluation panel contained procurement, finance, Engineering, Mike Schipper and Flanse Kaver. Several interviews were conducted. We settled on an individual who is an internal candidate, who's been with RTA for about 17 years, 14 of which within the procurement department. I'd like to introduce Sean Becker. Sean is in the back. He will be assuming once again, considering the importance of that position, he will be shadowing Melinda over the next few months and assume the role August 2nd. All right. Sean, thank you. Did you want to say hello?
Thank you very much. Look forward to spending
Congratulations.
Yeah. I was going to say, I know many of us knew that Melinda was thinking about retirement, so well-earned and deserved, but you will be missed, certainly by this board, along with your colleagues. But we're thrilled to hear of Sean's promotion. We've seen you before the board many, many times and been always impressed with your abilities and your presentation. So we go from one great person to the next. So you like to see that transition and continuity. So congratulations to both of you.
Sean, you know how excited I am with your stepping into the role, but I have to be honest, it's with several attempts were made with Melinda to see if you would change her mind. I tried. No, Melinda, thank you so very, very much for all that you've done and will continue to do over the next few months. Appreciate you.
And Melinda, you don't have to be a stranger. You can continue to live stream in.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, just one housekeeping note before I then hijack your meeting, is I know I have a conflict in the next board meeting. Just the mayors have an event in Columbus. I think Mayor Gallo's going to be here, and I'm not sure about Mayor Weiss, but just wanted to make sure we don't have any other absences in terms of a quorum. Okay, and going forward, I'm going to ask Avis to keep a listing when you know you have a conflict, a vacation, whatever that might be, through the end of the year. If you can just get that to her as soon as you know that you may not be able to attend, so we always have a running list of by meeting and make sure that we've got enough trustees here to transact business. So I just appreciate if you could get that any dates over to her through the end of the year. That would be great.
There's nothing else for the committee, then the Audit, Safety, Compliance, and Real Estate Committee will stand adjourned at 10:28. Thank you.